Hi, Patreon, and hopefully, hi, YouTube. Yeah, so we're just going to wait until we can see if YouTube is seeing us. Why do I have a feedback?
I don't know. That could have been mine. Like there was something that popped up, so I think that was just.
I don't think I have any feedback. Yes, YouTube can see us. What you're watching YouTube is a Patreon exclusive class that I've decided to make public. So patrons, where you need to be is on your Patreon Crowdcast link in order to ask your questions. What we would like to do, patrons in Crowdcast, what we'd like to do is work with you on screen. However, I do need to advise you that if you do choose to be on screen for your questions and working with Robina and I today, that basically you will just be advised that it's going to be on YouTube. So if there's a problem with that, don't do it. Just saying that out there. And YouTube, if you want to join us, you can join Patreon and click on the Crowdcast link and hop right in anytime you want to ask your questions and work with us. So if you don't know what Patreon is, it is the platform from which I teach my classes. It is so incredibly affordable. You will love it. So patreon.com/Pamela Aaralyn. Hopefully one of my moderators will put that in your chat link, but it's just patreon.com/my first and last name. So I'm here today with one of my most respected friends, colleagues, spiritual teachers, yogis, initiated elemental shaman, Robina Dhindsa. And you can find her at robinadhindsa.com. She is amazing. This is her second time publicly teaching with me. So thank you for being here. I honor you. I respect your teaching so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me here. I absolutely love you. And I'm excited to share this beautiful, beautiful class with everyone who's joining.
Yeah. So if anyone is really wanting to work on screen with us, once we go through our discussions, we're going to be giving you that opportunity to say so in chat, and we'll give you a little screen invite. And I will give you all of my little notions about how you should be on screen. And the first one is be dressed. That's a little Patreon joke that we have because we have people showing up in like no top or whatever. It doesn't bother me, but it may bother the rest of the world on YouTube right now. So be dressed. Try to have a clear and quiet background. I understand like kids and dogs and stuff like that, but keep in mind this is going on YouTube. So if you don't want your kids on YouTube, it might not be a good idea. And if you have barking dogs, it might be good to kind of get in a different room before you come on screen with us. One of my other teachers who's on Patreon with me says, boo. All right, well, show up naked then. It's your body. I mean, it doesn't bother Robina and I. It's all good. Self-love. So I'm really excited to teach about this class, and we call it the power of language because we teach the natural consequences of karmic law and universal law. So I want to start there. What is karma? Why is this the foundation of this class, and what is karma? Karma is simply the thought, the feeling, the sacred word, and then the expression of action. So karma is how God operates in action in a creative environment. Know that is a very scientific way to call it. But karma is simply what you, as God in form, that's formlessness into form, chooses to express in your thought and your feelings, in your words that you speak and don't speak. We're going to cover both the conscious and subconscious awareness and implications of that. And then finally, how that creates a valuation system creatively that lands into your physical world. So your jobs, your money, your success, your relationships, your everything basically comes from your choice in karma. So karma, let me tell you what it isn't now. It isn't a means of punishment from other lifetimes, with one exception, when you choose it to be that, when you're in so much powerlessness that you choose it and believe it to be so. I have a child who called in sick today and got dropped off from school. So what is it, Emmy? Sorry. What is it? Come on. Come on. What's up?
Where's the marker?
Where's the marker?
And then it was on the interrupt you. I was just going to write out a word for you.
Okay. She's kind of right on a board instead of interrupting. That's so I mean, yeah, I'm a mom. That is my choice in Dharma. I don't view that as karma at all. It's a beautiful expression. So the little Emmy had a tummy ache today, and I found out like an hour ago. So we may have an occasional interruption. So again, karma is not punishment. No matter what anyone tells you, what that is powerlessness. So when you choose to believe that because you are powerful gods, all the world will step aside and be like, oh, that's what you value. That's what it is. And then it begins to display itself as that. And then you begin to believe it because you are powerful, formless gods operating in form. And that form begins to create it. Yes, if you clean up after yourself.
I will.
Okay. Shut the door, okay? Thank you. Don't worry about that. Thank you. Shut the doorbell. Thanks. She wants to make an art project. I'm like, oh, what am I going to see when we click end on this program? What is going to be my kitchen going to be like? Trust. So something that Yeshua stated before this class and wants me to restate again now is about valuation systems. So what we're trying to do in this class is to make you conscious of the unconscious. And if you are conscious of something and you don't like it, to shift it. Those two things. That is the reason for this class. So the quote about value from Yeshua is, what you value, you experience immediately. The world will bow down to you and say, very well, you have let us know what you value. We will mirror it back to you now because we love you, because we are a part of you. And so it is. Boom. That's how powerful that is. That's how powerful karma is. So what do you have to say about karma and your thoughts on it?
Well, that's how powerful we all are, right? So we all think, oh no, it's I don't know how to manifest. I'm not manifesting. We hear that word a little bit too much, but we're doing it all day long, all the time. And where does it start? It starts from our intention. So even before words, before anything, where does everything start? It's your intent. Now, intent is in the now, intention is later. Okay, so those are two little distinctions. So let's talk about intent in the now. Now, intent is all about how you are feeling. So how you are feeling, and and again, this is kind of related to karma, because karma is an attachment to time also, right? So I'm trying to avoid time and try to get right into the now, and the now is where your intent is. How you are feeling in the now is going to then birth the words that you will use, whether the words you use in your self-talk or the ones that come out of your mouth. Same thing. They have the same effect. So your entire reality is created because of those words that start all the way down to the feeling state of how you are feeling now, right? So an example, if I'm feeling an anger within me. Now, notice how I use those words. So my natural language is just that. I'd never say I am angry. I say, if there is a feeling of anger within me today, because I've trained myself to detach from the anger. I am not the anger. That's just something of the body. My soul is free of all this stuff. It's the body that is attached to emotion. So I'll get back to my example. If I'm feeling an experience, or if there is an anger within me, right? That anger, before the words come out of your mouth, now this is a very quick process, okay? So I'm going to slow this process down. What happens before the words come out of our mouth? So the anger is brewing inside. The words haven't come out yet. What happens to that anger? It's not just going to dissolve and disappear, right? Mm-hmm. Our body is a very intelligent system. Our body is designed as a protection, right? So look at our eyebrows. Our eyebrows are designed so that the dust particles don't get into our eye. A double layer of protection is our eyelashes, right? So then so our eye always is protected. But our body is the same thing. So our organs are very intelligent. It's kind of like, my background is actually, I'm an electrical engineer. So sometimes I use a lot of techie kind of words. I'm a little techie. It's kind of like, we're kind of like an artificial intelligence system, that our organs have an intelligence and a wisdom, and they're getting more and more intelligence, right, Pam? And so, for example, our liver, because I love the anger one. So where does anger go? So before the words come out of your mouth, before you say to someone, I can't believe you did that, or I'm so angry, or so right before that happens, it's our liver that absorbs the anger, right? So our liver absorbs the anger, and hopefully if the energy, or another word is prana, is flowing through the liver, that anger can get transmuted into love and release. That's what the liver does. It releases toxins and stuff that doesn't serve us. It releases anger and emotion. But what if we don't honor ourselves? What if we eat really fatty foods, right? Then the energy is going to get blocked. So then the anger is going to stay there. And then you might have potential health problems later. So we always want to make sure that the energy is flowing nice and well in our body. So again, look how we didn't even talk about words yet, because there's so much before the words. There's so many things happening before. And this is all related to intention, right? And one quick anecdote, something that I teach and do, is I kind of act like my organs are kind of, I'll use really easy terms, another person. Pretend like they're another person. They're that wise. There's so much intelligence in our organs. So what I like to do, if I've experienced anger, I do not, throw back a glass of wine or vent it out to a friend. Sometimes I'll express it to myself. Sometimes I'll say, oh, I'm so angry. I hate that person, or whatever it is. That's okay. It's just my humanness. And that's kind of cute. I have a cute twist to it, to be angry and just to let it out. But what I like to do is put my hand on my liver and talk to it. Right? You talk to it like it's another person. I know it may sound a little strange to people who are not used to it, but that's okay. And then I say to my liver, liver, if I have knowingly or unknowingly harmed you, and then I say the Ho'oponopono, I'm sorry, forgive me, thank you, I love you. And it doesn't stop there. The Ho'oponopono is two-way. The liver says it back to you. And now how can the liver talk, right? Nope, there's a lot of intelligence. Remember, this is a kind of an artificial intelligence system that's getting more and more intelligent and wise. The more we focus our attention and awareness onto it, the more it gets more wise. The liver says it back to you. Same thing. If I have knowingly or unknowingly harmed you, Robina, I am sorry. Forgive me. Thank you. I love you. Right? And just saying that, placing your intention, that helps to clear. So even if you've been eating really fatty foods and you're thinking, oh my God, but my liver's probably covered with fat, that's okay. Our intention is very strong. It supersedes a lot. So that for me is the heart and soul of everything. It's your intention, how you're feeling, and awareness. What say you, Pam?
The awareness is the biggest key in everything you just said. We are saying, thinking, feeling, and saying, and thereby expressing in karmic action immediately, whether we're conscious of it or not, just as Yeshua has stated, that is an immediate processing and display in our world. And we're doing that based upon societal, cultural teachings, where it's a conditioning. And that starts from the moment we come into this world. The first thing that our well-meaning mothers do is try to get us to stop crying when we're scared, and that's the first thing that we hear from our mothers. And if we believed it, it would be one thing, but the world teaches us not to believe it. The first things most moms say to their children is, it's okay. Because the first thing that children do when they start to feel that they are separate, when a fetus comes out and becomes a newborn and feels the separation from the umbilical cord straight into the world, the fetus cries. and becomes very discomforted at the thought of separation. So the mom goes, it's okay. And that, if we believe that, that goes forth, if the mom displays that in the laws of psychology within nature and nurture, the nature part is really important, but the nurture part, quite frankly, can be just as valid and powerful and equal in this space when we have powerful parents who nurture us appropriately and tell us it's okay, it's safe to be in a separated, creative world. But it doesn't stop there. Then we have schools, and I remember when my children first started kindergarten in a charter school in Texas, they had these really strict rules about walking down the halls. I remember the first time I walked down the school and children were walking like this down the halls because the teachers didn't trust that they wouldn't start some shenanigans or be too loud or be too godly. I don't mean that in a religious way, people. Basically just show their deepest, most powerful expression with whatever that may be, being too exuberant, too expressive, et cetera, right away. So kids are taught in kindergarten to put their hands like this when they walk down the halls. By the way, I have never seen that. And, when my paradigm changed and when I started teaching about freedom and conscious parenting, now my kids are in a charter school. When they walk down the halls, what we have is just students, and we have student assistants and parent assistants and teachers assistants. Everybody, it's like a village of people kind of going, please stay focused. Let's keep up with the child ahead of you so that we can stay with the program. This is going to be such a wonderful program. But you never hear a teacher or assistant say, shh, don't be God within you. Granted, you wouldn't hear that anyway, right? But you would definitely be here in most school systems, teachers saying it's not okay to even speak your truth. So there's interesting things in that's taught. So in order to decondition or undo, as I talk about in my book being written, The Great Undoing, we talk about paradigms and how to be really in the power of choice in a way that benefits all, not just ourselves. Notice, I didn't say what's most loving for you. I said what's most loving for everyone in your reflection, including you equally. So this is what this class is about. And I'm noticing that we have a thought, and whatever that thought is, it begins to breed certain feelings that we, within that thought system, if we're in the mind of God, we have no problem allowing that to fully develop into positive feeling signatures, and then positive sacred speech, to ourselves. We're going to talk about self-talk, and then what we say, and how self-talk can go into what we say with or without our awareness, and then into actions. So I just want to talk about the physiology of that a little bit more. What does your body do to tell you, to make you aware? So many people are fully resistant to their bodies. That is a form of powerlessness. When you're like, buddy, I'm tired of you hurting. I'm tired of you bleeding. I'm tired of you this. I'm tired of this. I really just want to feel blank. And you put in something. According to the universal law of resistance, which the universal laws build karma, basically speaking, within the universal law of resistance, everything that you say certain resistant words towards, think certain resistant thoughts towards, expands itself, not one time, not two times, but according to the law of three in this universe, 3 times. So as opposed to, I have plantar fasciitis right now, right? It doesn't have me. I have a version of plantar fasciitis, right? So I could sit there and say, what? I'm tired of not being able to walk on this foot right now. I'm tired of this. I'm tired of that. I'm just like, what is this foot trying to tell me? It is a tool. So particularly with plantar fasciitis, what people do is tend to take upon more weight than they're supposed to, emotionally and mentally, and then physically. I've done the same. all in all realms, mentally, physically, emotionally, too much, more than I can handle, over and over and over again, and force myself into that. So saying yes when you don't really mean to say yes, taking upon more responsibility when you are a little bit afraid to say no. Where does that kind of stuff come from? So this isn't an over focus on your karmic role. This isn't about your dharma. This isn't about too much focus on your dharma and determining what your role is. You won't know what your role is until you're finally ready to exit this form, people. Dharma cannot be distinguished and identified if you still have a body. It never can. That's not why Dharma exists. Dharma is innate goodness and being in form while also recognizing the balance of formlessness, being in peace and love and oneness. That's Dharma. But Dharma isn't something that is measured by your role. So we have many societies in the world that go into certain roles. What is my Dharma? What is my role? How can I serve? And then that's one thing. And then Ram Dass channels a lot to me, and I wanted to share that message real quick about what he told me about karma and Dharma today. I've already shared it with you, and you laughed a little bit, and I laughed a lot more. You're from India, so you know what I'm about to say. If you go to that part of the world, especially in India, everyone is so focused on the power of Dharma, and they have no personal effect or personality involvement with things. They completely extricate personality and say, what is my role in Dharma? What is my role in this overall system? Which means they lose the power of creative karma completely. They just eliminated it from their power immediately by giving their power to the guru, etc., to different religions and non-religions, just lending their power and lending their power and lending their power, And then here in the United States, Ram Dass said, this is his quote, and then you go to the United States and it's like the back end of the mental ward. Everyone is insane with karma, and they are inundated and flooded with the power of their own I in their personalities. So they're like, I am powerful, I deserve enlightenment, I am awake, and they're running around telling you, I am a spiritual teacher, I am a guru, I can help you, I. Not enough Dharma. So what Robina and I are trying to do today is find the balance of this, find this bridge between these two concepts, so that we can understand what we're thinking, what we're feeling, what we're saying, and how we're applying these 4 laws of karma for the benefit of all. So the bodies will start and they will show you that. The bodies, you cannot ignore them. So for my foot, I just basically am putting it up, putting ice on it, I'm making powerful choices. The doctors are like, you need pain meds. And I'm like, no. But if they're like, you need anti-inflammatories, I'll say yes. So I'm still in my powerful, creative choice in the ego and simultaneously honoring the Dharma of it by understanding I need to release responsibility out of my life. That's the end thought here. The end result of this foot is just to be like, slow down, Mom. Slow down. You need to do some things for you.
It really helps to have a shifted perspective all day long. It makes everything a lot easier, right? So you don't assume, you're not saying, oh my God, look what happened to me, and then drowning in victimhood because of your foot. It's more, okay, I'm going through this experience. It's uncomfortable, but it's a little bit detached, right? So it's a little bit more comfortable. It's more of a comfortable way to live, I think. And the other day I had this weird thing in my eye, like it felt like it was a scratch on my eyeball or something, and so it was really annoying. And you honor the annoying, you honor it, you don't ignore it. If it hurts or if it's uncomfortable, that's okay. It's okay to hurt. It doesn't mean anything to do with ego. It just means it's uncomfortable. You honor it. And what I did was understand that, okay, well, there's something that's, what am I feeling in my eye? Well, it's scratchy and it's irritating. Well, what's irritating me? What is irritating me in my life? It's obviously a mirror of something that is, scratchy, is annoying. Is there something within me that I find a little bit scratchy, a little bit annoying, but I couldn't really figure it out. So again, you can ask your higher self. That's what I do. I ask my higher self, what's going on here? And I did it before I go to sleep, as is when I ask my higher self, because for me, my dream state is really powerful. And by the time I woke up, all is well. All is well. Why? Because not because I'm so special and magical or anything. It's because, or maybe I am, I don't know, but we all are. But it's because, again, like I started, it's a very intelligent system going on here. Don't underestimate the power of this body. It's more than just a machine. It's a deep wisdom that's happening. And because of my intent, my really pure intent, not egoic intent, pure intent to figure out, what am I missing? What lesson am I missing? Right? That's pure. If I was caught up in the annoying aspect of it, like, oh my God, this is so annoying, or the superficial aspect, oh, I can't do my makeup or whatever it is, then perhaps I wouldn't have gotten the answers. But because when you go to pure intent, then the body has no choice but to respond in kind, right? It responds to you. And that's what happens immediately, as Pamela was saying, right now. So I didn't have to wait another week. And so it's kind of fun, because then you can play with time a little bit. So the thing that a lot of people, maybe it would take them a year or a month or whatever, there are many of us that can do it very, very quickly. You don't have to waste a lot of time. It can happen very quick, boom, done. That's it. And I love talking about the body, because for me personally, and maybe for all of you also, is I get that feeling in my stomach. For me, it's my stomach always tells me what's up. When someone doesn't feel right, I don't care if an army trusts them. I don't care if the person is famous. I don't care about anything. I trust this above all. And how? Because it takes practice. It takes practice. At first you doubt, and then you ask people, right? And what do I do? That kind of thing. But then eventually that stops. And then you ask yourself, and you trust what your body tells you. It's like your friend. It's a friend that you can take everywhere if you choose to see it that way, right? And again, it goes back to how you treat yourself. Everything goes back to how you honor and treat yourself. If you are hard on yourself, if you say things like, why did I do that? If you're stuck in 10 years ago, I wish I wouldn't have done that. If I just did that, then this wouldn't have been different. Why did I say that today? Those things, they add up. I'm not talking about a one-off. I'm talking about a constant habitual pattern of it. Constantly saying that, this wisdom of a body that we're talking about is going to respond in kind, not for punishment, but just to mirror back what's going on, what your intent is, right? So what your words, the words that you're saying, the words that you're saying to yourself. So it's a good place to start.
What just happened? Our host just went bye-bye. How did that happen? I clicked mute on my microphone so I didn't cough in your ear, and she just left, and I don't know if I clicked something.
Sorry about that. I don't know.
Did I click something wrong?
I'm back. Sorry.
Sorry.
But yeah, so it's the words that we say to ourselves before it comes out of our mouth, right?
Right.
It's a good place
So
to
let's
start.
talk a little bit about that. Like, what is your perspective on what is the most common form of self-talk that's there? Like before, like when we're thinking, this is like the thought process, this self-talk comes and it creates these very toxic emotions. What do you think some of the most common self-talk phrases are? There's
so many of them. And I actually wrote down just some common ones, because we mindlessly say these things. And it sounds like it's just normal stuff, but I'm going to show you some differences and some comparisons so you can feel how different it is.
Thank you.
And it's all about your feeling state here, right? I love this one. Whenever we say, I'm so sad, I am sad, I am anxious, I am angry, I am. That's a great place to start, because I am, right? Another word for I am is God within, is source. The word I am put together is a really, really powerful word, right? I often invoke the I am as much. Maybe you guys do this invocation too, to connect to your higher self. So suffice to say, I am together is very powerful. I am sad actually doesn't make sense. It just completely doesn't make sense, because the I am wouldn't feel sad.
Mhm.
The God within doesn't feel sad. It would observe the sad. It would be compassionate to the sad. So another way of saying it, and this is all about just shifting and training yourself, that's all,
Yes.
is today, and you want to say to a friend or whatever, today I'm experiencing this sadness. I'm experiencing this sadness. Still, same thing, but see how it feels a little bit different?
Yeah.
There's an anxiety in my stomach today. In fact, I said that today
Mhm.
to Pamela today earlier. And that's how I naturally speak,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because I've trained myself, because I understand what anxiety is. There's nothing to fear. I watch the anxiety. It wants to come in, I allow it to come in. Again, it's almost like I'm talking to my liver and my organs. Anxiety wants to come in. Oh, there's a feeling of anxiety within me today. It is so uncomfortable. I don't like it, but blah, 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 right? There is a feeling of.
Mhm.
And other mindless things that we say are, I hate him. I
Mhm.
hate her. I hate her. Right? And, most of the time we don't really mean it, do we? Maybe sometimes we do. Is it bad to say I hate somebody? Because I know a lot of people would say, oh, no, don't say you hate someone. You should never hate somebody. No. But what if we hate an aspect of their character? Is that possible? Yeah. Yeah, we can. What if we switch the word hate now? What if we introduce a different word for hate, and we say that aspect, the aspect of their character, or there is an aspect of their character that really doesn't align to me, that I don't resonate with. Wow, just that alone.
I don't resonate with that. Yeah,
Exactly. I don't resonate with that.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be the entire person, because we all have different things. There's parts of me that, Pamela, you probably don't like, right? But that's okay. You don't resonate with, but other aspects you do. And that's okay. We are a mixed bundle of all sorts of things in us, right? Various aspects that
Mhm.
pop out at given times, right? So why not switch it to using resonate, using the word align?
Mhm.
And another one of my favorites is use divine time, or just time, instead of no, but I want it to happen now. Why I want it to happen now, right? And I know that's our ego, but now it's expectation. It's not going to happen now, because you want it to happen now. It's not necessarily going to happen now, because there's so much fear behind that. It has to happen now. Why isn't it happening now? Why didn't I get that job now? Why didn't you
The
can
word
get
why is so tricky, because all that why does, and the term of negative self-talk in your head, when you're asking why, it means that you're talking yourself into chaotic misunderstanding. We don't need to know why.
No, we
Chaos
don't
can
need
be quite peaceful, and we don't need to know why. I really felt so clear when I came forth from my, I think, 33rd samadhi into realization, and I went, wow, I don't really know anything, do I? I couldn't relate to any of my teachings. I remember trying to teach a galactic history class, and I tried so hard. Patrons, they were just being so patient with me. They were like, this galactic history class and all these things. And I'm like, so I don't really resonate. I'm really going to go into this as much as I can. However, I just don't know. And it felt so clear to just say, I don't want this knowledge in this way anymore. I wanted to just feel isness and think isness and speak isness and be isness. And I just wanted to really look at knowledge in this whole other arena. And it felt so purifying, for one. But I noticed what you're saying is a lot of nonviolent communication. So for those of you who are familiar with nonviolent communication, anybody can look up the tenets of nonviolent communication. Robina and I teach it a lot together and separately in our teachings. But she's right. When you say I am, anything that follows, you'd best be sure you want to experience in form right now. That means in your body, in your mind, in your feelings, and in everything that reflects your body and mind and feelings, and everyone that reflects in your feelings around you. Literally, I went to a podiatrist today who looks like Ram Dass. Tell me the universal, he's got the voice of Ram Dass. He had the humor. He flirted with me and made jokes. Like everything was so, and he said something specifically that Ram Dass had channeled to me just that morning. And I was like, I love this world. That's so juicy. You know, when the universal law really reflects right back to you. So just be prepared that when you say I am, primarily speaking, what you mean is little I. We can't possibly put am behind a big I. We can't possibly know that.
Completely. And as you're speaking, I'm just thinking of also, you know, the fact that there's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of meridian points on the palette, right?
Yes.
So for those of you out there who are into sacred chanting, like Pamela and myself, it doesn't mean that we're talking about Sanskrit or Gurmukhi or a different language, English language. So when we say, let's say the word hate, the tongue is hitting a certain space on your palate, and that's evoking a certain response, either a clearing response, either ensuring and continuing the flow of energy, like we said, through the body and organs and everything, or not. So saying, you know, words that are of a heavier vibration, negative emotions, that kind of thing, it's not ensuring and triggering those corresponding points on the chakras, on those energy points of the body to ensure that flow. So there's also that response that's very real. I mean, those meridian points are very real. And it's something just to be aware of. And even being aware of that could stop us from saying words that don't serve anyone's greater good. Right.
Yeah, it's just all about bringing awareness of what those conditions are. What Robina and I are just trying to share with you today are some of the words and phrases that we've noticed so far. Even the word I notice, like I don't often use the word I don't align to, because it is, the word don't is kind of like a do not, and then it's kind of like proclaiming in that moment that I don't, which is powerful if you're really sure that you don't. So sometimes I do. I can't say I don't always. Sometimes I do. But a lot of times I'll say, I notice that, or I observe that, I align with, and then I'll fill in the blank, the feelings and classes or thoughts process that I'm currently aligned to. I notice that I am in more alignment with blank than blank, which automatically pulls my power into what I'm aligned to, so that people, they don't feel kind of like I'm saying, well, I don't align with you. But so there's like the ways that we use it too. Like the way that you use that seems to be a lot more clear than the way that I would use it or not use it.
Yeah, I mean, it's just everyone has their own style of speaking also. So there's really no right or wrong. Some people's approach is a little bit more direct. Sometimes I've been accused of being a little bit triggering because I'm very direct, right? And
Oh, I love that about you, though.
yeah, I mean, I like it. I like it, and I get to the point.
You're
And
clear.
Yeah, I'm clear, and I don't beat around the bush, and I'm not vague. I'm just very pointed. And
I'm the opposite. I'm accused of not being clear, of saying like, well, you know, I'm more in alignment with this than this. However, I can honor your approach, which means people kind of look at me sort of like, well, she might be interested in this or she might not. And then I get like a barrage of the not in my face by not being clear.
I get you. But I've kind of really trained myself to, and I don't want to use any fancy words, but to practice, this is years of practice, to take a higher dimensional perspective of everything. Yes. And when I say that, whenever I talk also in visualization. So I'm picturing things, and that's my practice also, to open my third eye, to really live in visualization. So when I said that, I'm kind of sort of up here. And this, I'm not saying up is better or down is better. This is just how I'm positioning it, so that I can look down. Why do I say this? Because many years ago, I used to become my emotions. I did not experience sadness. I was sadness. And
Mm.
most importantly, I couldn't get rid of it. I couldn't release myself. And everything made me so sad. And I was so emotional and it was so all over the place because I didn't tap into who I was. Right. And it caused a lot of chaos and a lot of pain in my life. And probably for people around me because they didn't know what to say or how to handle it. Right. So my blessing over the past many years has become taking a higher dimensional perspective and observing everything, looking at everything, and understanding the reason I'm able to do this is because I tapped into who I am, right? Who I am, beyond this body here, beyond this. And that's what's helped me a lot. But it takes practice in every moment of the day.
It does.
Pamela, it's not just that meditation in the morning. It's all day long. When something gets triggered, when something gets brought up, that's the moment that you look at it. Yeah. And you use all the practices that you teach and breath and whatever it is, you look at it, right? All day long.
Yeah. Well, speaking of your sadness in those moments, I feel like you probably were an instrument to teach compassion, to teach compassionate presence for others to know and accept depression or whatever it is you're feeling as okay and safe. Like people get so threatened by depression, grief, anxiety, particularly the more tension-based anxieties where people are irritated and they seem angry, and then anger itself. Those are the things that people are most threatened by. So what if, we're not trying to, in this class, tell you to make something go away. Definitely the antithesis of what we're trying to teach today. And we're there to teach you a lot about how you can recognize these conditions, but also not shame yourself or judge yourself over it. Someone said to me in my judgment detox class, and my local community here, I'm judging myself for judging a lot. I catch myself judging and I stop and I'm like, damn it, why are you doing that? Which is also not the purpose. So I wanted to go through some of these conditioned feelings and words, not just words. Words come from the thoughts, but what feelings are behind them as well. Today, a little bit that I have on my list and some that Robina has on her list too, so that you can just be aware. I'm going to list you some of the common words that you think about and you use all the time. One of the most conditioned words in the English language is the word but. But is a word that almost everyone uses every single day, pretty much all the time. That's what I observe. And it's not just the word itself, it is the intention and the universal law that it triggers. So I've noticed that but is a resistance word. So but is commonly used in, I would do this, but, or I could do that, and that would feel good, but, oh, I see what you mean, but, and there's often an I word or phrase that follows. But I don't feel good, but I don't but I do not. So it's what follows the word. It is a bridge to powerlessness and limited thinking. So instead of using the word but, I will often say something when people say something that I'm just like really not feeling in alignment with at the time. I will say, I hear you. I honor what you're saying to me. I hear you. And notice I switched that up. I don't use the word but, I use the word and. So when I say and, it's often I hear you. I'm letting that soak in. I'm processing that right now. And I'm feeling this way about what you have shared. So I will say I'm feeling a certain way. I'm observing that I feel. I hear what you say. I see what you're doing. And I'm thinking a certain thought. I'm feeling a certain thing about what you said or about what you did. I don't say about you. So that's the other thing. I don't say, I noticed this, but you, and I think this about you. I don't project that onto someone else. So this isn't a class about spiritual bypassing. This is a class about honoring exactly where you are and just noticing, using the words notice and observe are great replacement words for, what, you do this to me and I feel this way because you, Instead, I notice that you and I have a pattern. You and I have this thing, when I really can't determine what's going on, I will say, there's just this thing that seems to arise between us. I don't know what it is. I don't know. Just admitting that you don't know is a powerful thing, because you stop the conditioning, the fear, that all the little yucky feelings that are coming up about it. You just say, like, I don't know what your intention is. I don't know if your action was meant to hurt me, but I'm feeling hurt about this action. And then I will list the action. I'm feeling hurt about this. And action words are decision. I'm feeling hurt about your decision. I'm feeling hurt about what you just stated, about your words. I'm feeling hurt about something you just shared. You can say it this way. I'm feeling hurt about something that you did. So then you're identifying your sad or angry or tension in a way that is with that person's actions, and also bringing a point of connection between you and them, so that if something needs to arise, that if there's some clarification, some ultimate higher discernment that needs to arise, you are bridging the gaps so that that person can feel safe. If they did hurt you, they're going to then really think about that and attempt to absolve it, like attempt to correct it and be a bridge of peace between you and them at that moment. And if they didn't, well, now they're aware that their behaviors did indeed reflect some thought of harm. So what words are you thinking? Is there some things that are most common that you notice?
Yeah, just as you're speaking, I was thinking what I see a lot is inadvertently or unconsciously leaving the decision up to someone else, really just throwing away your power right away. And there's so many words that do that, right? I'm really hoping that they make that decision by really soon. I'm really wishing that. I'm really hoping that. Even using ing. Oof, you're stepping into a future that you are leaving to the other person, and it's completely relinquishing your power. So actually, a specific example is someone told me that, I'm really hoping that the job agrees to these terms. And I asked, what do you want? What do you want now? Right now, not later, not the person to say, what do you want now? Well, I want this outcome of XYZ. When do you want it? Yeah. I want it quickly. When? Specific. The law of specificity, right? Mm-hmm. I want it, I don't know, Robina, by mid-February. What? February 15th? Yeah, February 5th. Okay. I want it by February 15th. Yeah. This is not to tell anybody. This is not to tell anybody. This is for yourself. When you make declarations in the now, I'm telling you, there's nothing more powerful. The most magical things happen when you make declarations in the now. Avoiding the INGs of I'm hoping, wishing, ING this later, throwing it onto the other person. It's just really not stepping into our power and understanding and tapping into the fact that we can create anything we want. We really must believe that. Beyond belief, we must know it, right? Knowing is deeper than believing. But again, it's your intent in the now. And if your intent is clouded with all sorts of false belief, maybe there's some pain and there's some hurt and there's some shame and guilt, that makes it a little bit hard. And then your intention becomes cloudy. So it really serves us well to clear that, to have a daily disciplined routine of some sort of meditation and that kind of thing, right? So it all goes along together. It's one big happy family of, you must meditate every day. That I believe that, and I really highly recommend it. That's some sort of practice to clear that. But back to the words, honestly, the INGs and shoving something into the future. That's a big
deal. And the words hope and faith are primarily conditioned from belief systems of religion. So when people are normally thinking about the word faith, they're often using it in a certain context of, well, I have faith that, have you heard that one? I have faith that, and they normally insert in that blank, so-and-so will come to the light, ask someone for forgiveness, get rid of a drug habit, whatever the case may be, where their own ego investment is in someone or something's behavior that isn't right. What you're saying is you hope that, the condition is you have faith that, and some people even go further. I have faith that God will fix this. God, where is that? You're just basically saying that there's some man with a white beard sitting up in a celestial kingdom somewhere that is going to fix something before you can.
Ooh, and that's also placing expectation. We haven't come here in this human incarnation to expect anyone, God, friends, family, to do something for us. We came here empowered because we can do it ourselves. We are God. We have that God aspect in us. So we can do it ourselves, but we give away our power a little bit too quickly, thinking that someone knows more than us. It's kind of an epidemic. I see that a lot.
Yeah, I've noticed. And the word hope, a lot of the masters have taught me through channeling with the word hope is that hope is a false friend, because hope is based upon something that you want to be like the past or something that hasn't happened yet. Hope operates in the past or the future. It basically obliterates your thought process of wonder, which wonder is a technology that brings you into the now. So I like to use certain words that imply wonder, or I will directly say, I wonder, instead of saying, well, I have faith that blah, 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 or I hope that blah, 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 or I'm hoping for this outcome. I will say, I wonder what that would be like if, and then I will put in whatever I'm wondering. I wonder if that's the right path for them. I wonder if, and just sort of just playing around.
I like the playing around. I don't think we play around enough, and
not taking it very seriously, just playing it around like a possibility, like a potential.
Yeah.
What would it look like? And I say that to my clients sometimes when people come to me with deadlines and they're like, and if they were as clear as you are, and you would say to me, Pamela, what do you want? And our opposite, if I said to you, Robina, what do you want? And you said, I want this class project completed, by this date. It promotes a clarification, because if I can't do it, I have to be in complete acceptance and flow with my own power to be able to say, okay, I don't think that that's possible. It's not in my potential to do that right now, which offers clarity. And then I could start to say, however, I wonder what it would look like, if we had this portion of the project done by this date. What does that look like to you? What does that feel like to you? Do you align with that? I ask people questions because I love to wonder. So in my ways of working in the sacred speech and sacred laws of word, I will just say, well, I wonder what it would look like for both of us to do this project together, to do this class together, by this date. I wonder how that fits in and if this honors you. I'm curious if this honors you. I'm just playing around with this, play with me in thought. I'm inviting you to connect with me in kind of a not, oh my gosh, now we have to create something together. If I don't do it by the date that Robina wants, then
Yeah. And it's funny because it takes a lot of practice, doesn't it?
It does.
And I'm hearing you speak, and this is how you and I speak casually as well, right?
We do.
So you said that to me, I think just a few days ago. Does this honor you, Robina? And it's so warm. It's like receiving a hug, these words, because it's a space of total acceptance. It's a space of total non-judgment, and it's so honoring. And it's words are very, very powerful for yourself, and then projected onto all others. And so what happens, your life is just very, very fluid, and all experiences are very harmonious. Yeah. So it's very rare, I think, for you and I to have maybe one-off situations that are a little bit chaotic, but they clear up very, very quickly. But the majority is very harmonious experiences, new experiences that are really enriching and very, easy. Yeah. There's nothing complicated. There's nothing hard. That's what I'm noticing with life. There's nothing hard once you tap into these, the sacred language, these sacred principles and laws. It really adds to a very lovely life.
Yeah, when you're aware of it, I want to share an instance of when I was not aware of it. So this is very, very recent for me. Like I'm not a very verbal person in expressing my actual needs. Like you have to like dig them out of me. And I just haven't felt, particularly in relationships, I haven't felt like really safe enough with someone until recently to do that. So everyone was always like wondering, and it was a lot of lesson learning about wondering for me, like how to be able to do that and still honor the other person. And where does that come from? By fears that anything or everything I do may not honor the other person. So, and it showed up in like these little ways in my life. Like, I don't really like to like go run third dimensional errands. And I know that. I don't shame myself over that. I just have a lot of assistance in my life to do those things. So lately I've had to do a lot more errands and things that I need to do all the time, you know, as a single mom of 4. And as I realized, oh, there's this little thing that you do that if every time you get groceries, if every time you go to the gas station, if every time you're at a place where you're using your debit card, you just got like $20 cash back, you would be able to like give your kids cash without having to go to the bank when they have to go on field trips, you know, pay for their daily lunches without having to just run to the bank at the last minute, you know, pay your landscaper who will only accept cash. You will be able to have this on hand. And then I was like, oh, that sounds easy. So every time I use my debit card, I'm going to ask for a small amount of cash back, you know, because it's not, you don't think about like incredible amounts of budgeting when you do that because you only see that stuff coming out a little at a time. And it just makes so much more sense. So today, you know, I was waiting on a prescription at the pharmacy and they weren't open yet. You know, so I went to get some decaf coffee. I bought something, you know, that I needed from the grocery store while I was there, you know, and then finally I paid for my prescription, those 3 things. So the first time I used my debit card, I'm like, server's like, the cashier's like, do you want cash back? And I'm like, sure. And she's like, how do you want it? And I'm like, oh, it doesn't matter. Whatever benefits you, whatever's good. Like, which is basically saying, you know where I'm going with this? The unspoken communication is, I'm not good enough to be able to specifically not worry about that I might put her out somehow. She was like, do you want 5s or 10s? Or do you want a full 20? Because I was asking for 20 back. Yeah. I'm like, oh, you know, it doesn't. My guys around me are like, please, you know you want them in 10s. Why don't you just say you want 2 10s? What is going to be so? So I'm like, okay, I couldn't do it. I took the 20. So I go, and then the second time I was going to get cash back, which is when I was going to get my decaf coffee. The lady said, how do you want your change back? And I'm like, I still did it. I was like, oh, it doesn't matter. And then my guys around me are like, oh God, you're dense. So she looks at me and I was thinking, I just want to be able to say 2 10s. And she was like, I have 2 10s. And the guys are like, she made it easy because she's you. I'm like, thank you. Yes, I'll take it. And then the third time I finally was like, okay, I'll take 2 10s if you have it. Like, if I'm not going to put you out is basically what I may have just said. You know, so it's funny how like that shame can kind of creep into these everyday tasks. You know, that's something that I just really want you to be aware of. How are you doing this without even saying the words, but it's there in your self-talk. Like I wasn't thinking it. I wasn't thinking I was putting her out, but there was a something there, you know.
But sometimes it's conditioning from childhood too. As you were speaking, I was thinking of, you know, all throughout childhood when we would go to people's houses, we were trained, if anyone asks if you want to drink something, you're supposed to say no. Even if you're thirsty, you're supposed to say, oh, no, thank you. No, thank you. Do you want to eat something? Oh, no, thank you. No, thank you. And it gets in our unconscious mind, right? And that pattern develops right when you're younger. So what happens later, you don't say what you really mean, because it's in there. But the beauty is that you don't have to go back to all those experiences because we've lived, you know, very complicated and colorful lives, right? So you never have to go back in the past. That's very passive to think that, right? That you have to go back. It's not.
But it's there. It's there in belief systems that are kind of permeating without really a conscious awareness of a thought system behind it. So it's just something to be aware. And my gut, my stomach literally clenched up in that moment. You know, when I looked at my gut, I'm like, why is my stomach? And they're like, because you won't say what you actually need. If it's going to put her out, it's her responsibility to say that that's going to put her cash drawer out. you know?
Funny, eh? One of the in Kundalini yoga, it's called a kriya, like a set of all those postures called asanas. The one I'm working on is this one, is the solar plexus, is the stomach.
Mhm.
And the stomach is where our voice comes from. We think it's here, but it's actually here. So when we feel that feeling of like clench, it's because we didn't speak our voice. The voice comes from here. And that's a very powerful place, the gut, the stomach, solar plexus, you know, and
Yeah. So there's just like so many things with that. How about the word shouldn't? Do you see that a lot?
of course, and we all say it, but again, it's such, if we want to talk about energy, right? Everything is energy, words have energy. Shouldn't, oh, it's just not a very high vibrational world. It sort of leaves you with so many, it's
You're
very
going to feel bad if you do, like shaming. Oh, you
shouldn't.
shouldn't, you know.
Yeah, I shouldn't have done that. Oh my God. It's almost instant shaming. It's instant shaming. Maybe I shouldn't do that. We all know yes and no. We all know. We may not be able to hear it in the moment. We may be a little bit, should I trust the person? Should I not? We know if we can just do a little bit of work and tap into our body. What does my body say, right? Ask your body, should I trust that person? So you don't have to say it out loud, should I? And then you'll go get the yes or no. So you don't have to later say, I shouldn't have done that and shame yourself, right? It's a pretty weak word.
Yeah, it is. And then wouldn't.
Yeah, it's the same family.
I noticed that people say that. I noticed that coming up when people say, well, I wouldn't have done this if they hadn't have done that. And then there's this whole, I wouldn't have done this if I didn't think that this would happen or that. And this is this whole double conundrum, like this whole double entendre and conundrum of cycling of chaos.
It is.
Like
It's an invitation to get back into the now. The minute that the wouldn't and shouldn'ts are coming, get back into the now. Whether you have to tell yourself, well, you have to use your breath, take long, deep breaths to get back into the now. And, you know, adopt a technique to go right back in now, because it doesn't serve us, the shouldn't and wouldn't. It takes us on a tornado in our mind, and nothing will advance with a shouldn't, wouldn't. It's kind of putting a stop sign onto life. Everything sort of stands still. Again, there's no race. There's nowhere. It's not that. It's just that we want to progress. We want to always expand and learn. And that kind of halts it right there.
Yeah.
Shouldn't, wouldn't.
Yeah. Someone asked me before how to really, since the word not is such a commonality in English language, especially, what are certain phrases that we could use instead of that? And there are so many powerful things that you can say, you know, like when I really don't want to do something, and as opposed to saying, I will not do this, I may often say, I hear what you're asking. It would honor me better if, and then I put in a different scenario. Like if, you know, I went home and took a bath, attended to my house cleaning, and dealt with my child's science project. Very specific examples right now. That, like, you know, one of my friends close to me right now is like, I have one more day with you. And like, I'm feeling it in the connection. I'm like, oh my God, the science project. Oh my God, this. If I say no, so instead of saying no, I went, I'm going to get back to you on that. You know, I think I said something like, I'm going to look into it. So when you really don't know how to honor yourself in that moment, and how not to shame yourself or not doing things that other people want you to do, even if you want to do them but can't, there's so many different things in a single mom's life in particular. And before shame can come in, I will look into that. And what I meant was like in my heart and in my schedule, like really like look into how that, and generally speaking, when there's so much chaos and things going on in your world, sometimes you can't make a decision. And the best thing to do would be to say, I can't make that decision right now, which is my loving way of saying, you know, let me look into that, which is just saying, I'm stressed about this potential. I'm aware that there's a lot of other things that I absolutely have to do for my children and for myself. So I'm just going to look into that in my heart, my schedule, my kids, my everything. So sometimes you can give yourself some space, you know, from having to say something when someone clearly communicates in a way with you that you're not sure about.
I really love that. In fact, I should learn a little more about that because my technique's a little different. When it's an I don't know, for me personally, it's a no.
That's powerful. That can be true for many people.
Yeah, yeah. I practice that. I practice that a lot, just to test it out, right? Because we must test out things to see if it works, see how we resonate, not if it works, but if it works for us.
Yeah.
And sometimes I just say no, thank you, and I feel very honored with that.
I love that you don't elaborate or explain yourself after no thank you. It's something I noticed about you, that you just say, I'm going to pass on the offer, or no thank you. You know, thank you for thinking of me. I'm going to pass. I've just noticed certain things you say, and they're really powerful because you don't say, you know, I would, but da da da, or I could, but da 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 da. You know,
exactly. Yeah.
See, I'm not quite clear if I do or I don't want, like, and sometimes I want, but then like there's other things that I want and need to do more, you know, just like standard mom stuff. So as opposed to hurting my friend's feelings and being like, I'm so stressed, and if I have to answer right now, it's going to be no. I just said, let me get back to, I honor what you're saying. Okay, I love you. I'm going to just really think on that. I'm going to go into that.
And, or, you know, if people are thinking, wow, that sounds so severe. No, it doesn't have to. Thank you so much for thinking of me, but I can't make it that day. No reason. It's what I'm getting at is you don't have to go into the explanation, because let's say you just don't feel like it. You don't owe anyone anything, but you can be very compassionate and still say, thank you so much for thinking of me, but I cannot make it. But I cannot make it. That's it. I cannot make it. A little heart. And a little heart.
But I cannot do it. Yeah.
I cannot do it. Yeah, a little emoji or whatever honors you and whatever makes you feel good. So I'm not saying to be cold. I'm saying to be honoring of yourself, because it's better to be honest. The other person will feel it. Everyone knows when you're dodging, right? So it's nice to be nice and clear. I don't really resonate with that event, but let me know future ones. There you go. Resonate and align.
Yeah. The thing is, for me, I'm going through something, and this something is surrender. This is the thing currently. And I read this book recently. I think his name is Michael Singer is the author, and it was called The Art of Surrender. And he did this experiment called the surrender experiment or something like that, where for 30 days, this is how he started, it ended up being a whole life practice. For 30 days, if he really resonated, he would say yes to some aspect, because he honored that everyone was a reflection, and he would say yes to them in some way, shape, or form. The answer had to be yes. I don't fully advocate for that, by the way. But it was really interesting, because if people are completely, like, even if you have to say no, there was a way that he was saying yes to some facet of them. If even being clear, like, yes, I hear you, you know, and yes, I will consider. I won't do this right now, but I will consider, or something. Like, there was various ways to say yes without shutting the universe out. It wasn't just, yes, I will do things that I don't want to do. There is various ways to say yes to God in that person, which really resonated with me, because it teaches me that I know a lot less about what I need and what I want and what I want to express than God within me does. My little I, my ego, knows a lot less, and I just want to be really open to all potentialities. So for me, I don't know means, ooh, this is a juicy opportunity for me to go into surrender and really see and ask myself, I wonder what that would feel like. I wonder if I want to do this. I wonder what I'm going to feel like tomorrow. And as opposed to committing and hurting someone's feelings, I might wait until tomorrow and be like, how's my body? How's my foot, by the way? What exactly can I do? I really want to spend time with that person. And what would that look like? It gives me potential to kind of go into, but like this, magical realm of possibility where I'm not saying no to God all the time as well, without my awareness that I'm just shutting God out somehow. So it's like exploring nothingness in a creative way. It's just, surrender is so unusual for me, and it's so juicy. I'm loving this.
It's true. And our body will never steer us wrong. And
yeah,
whatever I'm going to get.
And your breath will tell you. Have you noticed, as a yogi, we're both yogis here, so we can talk about breath, that for me, I'm such a throat chakra person And when I am feeling tense about something, my breath catches in my throat and I stop speaking. I literally go, well, I don't, you hear my breath pattern? That's like the erratic breathing. That's what I do when I'm really uncomfortable. I start going, well, erratic breathing.
Ah, oh, for sure. And I'd be interested to see what everyone else who's watching experiences too. For me, sometimes my heart races. Even, and you and I get asked to do a lot of stuff, right? Opportunities and this and that. And if my heart starts racing or my stomach does something, that is a no. And sometimes I will go against it. Sometimes just because, and I'll say, whatever. But my body was always right. Always. It always has been right. It will always be right. But that's okay. I have a bit of a curiosity in my nature, and I have a bit of impulsiveness that I'm like, no, I just want to do it, but I want to try. And
like, it's probably your body saying this isn't in your life. I do that too. And I do it not for little things, like the little things that seem to be really pinpointed, but major decisions. You know, like going into deep relationships and big commitments, and my body's like, like literally my throat's clenching. Everything about me is just clenching. My teeth are clenching, and I make a major decision anyway. And my ego goes, you just want to play with that. Just go ahead, damn it. Like, I'm aware of it and I do it anyway. It's so juicy. I've done that before too in the past.
Oh, for sure. For sure. What is it? A couple of years ago, I was engaged. I remember when he proposed, aren't you supposed to be happy? Like, aren't you supposed to feel well? I felt, and I was like, oh no, I didn't want my stomach to tell me anything because I wanted to be engaged to him. And I said, yes, but this thing was like, I don't think so. And guess what happened? We're not together. Because my body knows. It's very intelligent, right? So
I've done that too. I've said yes to a marriage proposal that my body not recently, thank God, but a good while ago. Yeah.
That's good. You know what? It's all part of the human experience, and all experience is very valuable. So all good.
Yeah. And I just wanted it anyway. I just wanted the experience to learn. I knew that person was another me that I wanted to learn from, like the end. No shaming, no guilt. No. So many people have looked at my erratic relationship pattern as a whole, and they're just like, what are you doing? And I'm like, learning. Thanks.
Yeah. I agree. Sometimes by being engaged, it doesn't mean you're going to be married, but you need that experience to go through certain, it's a growth, and you learn so many valuable things. It was never meant to finish into a marriage.
Well, my body finally said yes, so I'm good. Like I got yes on all levels with this last one. I'm good. But it was a fun experience to go through the, saying yes when the body's saying no and the breath is saying no. I've done that in the past. It was incredible. Yeah. So I wanted to talk a little bit about the emotions that kind of precede the words that we say, the emotional language of this. So someone was asking on YouTube about greed. What is greed and how can we recognize how that feels in the body? So greed is a limited form of lack. You are clenching onto something so that you feel less in lack and more powerful. So greed is a form of powerlessness. And it stems from feelings of unworthiness or lack of safety, which is conditioned in everything in society. So what you need to do is find a way to give yourself a feeling of worthiness, safety, and ultimately trust.
I love that. And so what some practical ways to do that, to feel that worthiness? What I recommend and what I would love is volunteer work. I think volunteering is really great. Something that is kind of a karma yoga, meaning you're not doing it for an expectation. So choose something that you're not posting on Facebook or social media or telling the world, right? This is something for yourself. That is how to face that greed and to sort of dissolve this illusion, right? By being of service to other. There's nothing like it. There's nothing like that feeling. And again, being of service to other takes a little practice too. So maybe in the beginning, you'll be tempted to want to tell people how great you are because you worked and saved an animal or whatever. That's okay. keep on doing it and that'll dissolve. Keep on doing it and really go with the intention. So before you open the door of the volunteering service, wherever you're going, set your intention. My intention is to be of service to others. That's it. You're not talking about greed. You're not talking about anything. That alone will just put that ego aside so your heart can finally take over. And the more your heart takes over, the more all the other stuff becomes noise. And greed, lack, what lack? It's all going to just sort of dissolve, you know?
Right. Right. And it comes from its lack of abundance, lack of financial safety, lack of emotional safety, lack of work, lack. The little I in you is saying, I am not, and therefore I'm going to create every limited perception of the I am that I possibly can. In money and, you know, in food and love. And if I can be greedy about my partner, if I can be greedy about my job title, if I can be greedy about how many projects I get so I can look better and feel more powerful than other people, that's little I. And this society basically teaches you to do all those things, by the way, to get ahead. So like spirituality in the workplace, it all comes down to your practice and how you're honoring that before you even get there. It's not about how the other people treat you, you know, but it is about how you treat yourself first, how you feel about yourself and your own worthiness. And then you will naturally treat others the way that you want to be treated. And all of that connection occurs, you know. So it's incredible. Anger. Oh my goodness. Anger, when that comes about, it fuels all those other words that Robina was talking about, like I hate this and I hate that. And, you know, yeah, I hear sometimes so-and-so is going to get their karma. They're going to get what they deserve, you know, which is like the little I in that person trying to play God and say, well, I hope that they get this specifically so I can eat some popcorn and watch, you know. So anger is because you're feeling powerless and you want to feel powerful. So instead of being angry, how can you find ways to give yourself more power? You know, Robina and I were talking about this. There's specific ways. When I was feeling angry in my life, I joined a karate class, you know, and I learned jujitsu and other really powerful Aikido is another thing that I learned, you know, so yeah.
I did boxing. I actually took boxing. Yeah, like, and they had like actual boxing thing and boxing gloves and the whole thing. And that was so amazing to get all that anger out and all that energy, because it's just energy that's stuck, and it really, really worked. So physical activity, very important.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, I was so angry, you know, during martial arts training, that by the time I reached my black belt, I was like, I had like arthritis in one of my hips really bad because we're kicking so much. And even my martial arts master was like, when I would kick and he would hold up the mats and stuff and his gloves and whatnot, I'd almost kick him over. He's like, you have so much power in your anger. Can we center this in to this? And it would just almost knock him over. There was so much of it.
Oh my God. But so it's so healthy, you know. It's unfortunately it's not just meditating all day that's going to get rid of all that excess energy, you know. And but what if you can't? What if you have a physical disability and you can't do you know, an exercise? Well, that's okay. Then you use your breath.
Bhakti.
Yeah. You can chant. I don't know if you all have been introduced to mantra. You can listen and chant along with Pamela on her beautiful music. Telling you, there is nothing more powerful than chanting. You don't have to know what it means. You don't need to know. It has nothing to do with that. But chanting it has been magical for me for years. Yeah,
I observed one of my friends is real good with bhakti, is a very strong, powerful, divine masculine presence in my life. He was visiting me a few months ago, and we were doing a puja, and he started doing the Om Shri Hanumate Namah, you know, mantra. And I noticed like the difference between like the way that I do it and the way he does it. Like there was so much power coming from him, and it made me wonder for a moment, because the way I sing it is like Om Shri Hanumate Namah, and it calms me down. But like my male friend who does it, he's like Om Shri Hanumate Namah, Om Shri Hanumate Namah. And so I started doing that with him, and I'm like, oh my God, that feels better. And we were just like, we had a drum, in our puja, like we were just like really being in our power, and I wondered in that moment if for some people, if they wanted to feel angry, that anger would not turn into, or would not turn into empowerment in that moment,
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure. It's so powerful. It goes back to the palette again when you're saying those mantras and what it's hitting, those meridian points. There's a lot going on when you're saying these mantras. You're feeling well, but the reason you're feeling well is that there's actually a response inside. There's actually some clearing going on, or even just leaving it on in the background. Just even downloading music and leaving it on. Those waves, those magical sound waves, they're going to help clear your environment inside you also. You're just going to feel better and you're not even going to know why. Yeah. Really powerful music.
And what about anxiety? I was an anxiety sufferer for 15 years of my life before meditation, chanting, and realization. Anxiety, it stems from fears of uncertainty, fears that you are out of control, which ultimately is lack of acceptance and lack as a whole, and feeling too exposed, too vulnerable, too powerless. Again, all these things are boiling down to powerlessness. So if you could find ways to use the word accept and trust, accept first, and then trust ultimately when you're ready. Trust is a bigger word, but ultimately you're looking for acceptance and trust. So instead of feeling like really bad that I don't know what's going to happen and I'm starting to feel anxious about it, I would say, I accept that blank. And normally it would be, I accept that this appears frightening. I accept that this appears blank. It looks like, blank, and I would identify just the appearance. I accept that this is really frightening. The potential of being out of control is really frightening. And I would say just the potential, as opposed to saying, you know what, damn it, I have no control. And then all these things might happen. And this might happen. That spiraling, chaotic thing that anxiety sufferers go through of, you know what, if this happens, then that's going to happen, which is going to be bad. And that's going to happen, which is going to be worse. And I call that chaotic spiraling.
Yeah.
So what if we just said, I accept that this appears blank. And I feel blank about that potential.
Beautiful. And even adding, and I love and accept myself, even if it feels blank. And no matter what, I love and accept myself. But sometimes I've had anxiety and it hasn't been preceded by thoughts. I used to get exactly like you for maybe about 15 years also, just massive panic attacks, almost like I was having a heart attack. Painful left side, the whole thing, couldn't breathe. And the more I feared it, what happened, the stronger it got, right? And this thing was never ending. I felt like I was a prisoner and I would never be able to get rid of this thing. It was like an entity in me, but my own fear was feeding it. And the more fearful I got, the worse it was getting, right? And I thought it was a part of me. Now that was the mistake too. It wasn't a part of me. So, it's important to not fear it. It's important to understand that it's just there to just ruffle some feathers, just to show you a space that you are not looking into. It's a teacher, if we look at it that way. So if we can make that choice,
Yeah. I really noticed that with anxiety that I suffered, it primarily, related to when people are using confusing language, like when they do one thing but say another, or say one thing but then do another, particularly if it was like in the same communication. Like if we were texting and someone would say, well, I love you, and da 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 da, and then they'd say something that appeared to be unloving, or they would say something that was the opposite of what they said before. Then I would immediately go like, I am so confused. Which confusion is the author of fear. If you say you're confused, it's not like, what does confusion actually even mean? It means you feel displaced. It means you feel you don't belong. And it means you think that you need to know something, that you need to be certain of something in order to feel powerful. So the underlying problem and opportunity for expansion and anxiety is fears of uncertainty. It's what makes the fears of the world karmically go round.
It's
So
a biggie, uncertainty.
uncertainty. And what if we just embraced uncertainty and said, I make peace with the fact that I know nothing.
Yes, that forces us to be now in the now, though, and not in the future that hasn't happened. And that could be a scary thing. That takes practice. Takes a lot of practice.
Yeah. And then grief. That's behind a lot of things as well. So grief is the opposite of connection. Basically, when you feel grief, you believe that you are separate from love in that moment, and that feels bad, right? So when you are grieving, what you're really looking for is acceptance of divine truth, just that you can never be separate, and then connection. So as opposed to saying, I'm grieving, you can say, I'm connecting to my pain right now. I'm honoring my pain right now. I'm respecting my pain right now.
And the best way to release anything is to honor and to become it. And it's very uncomfortable, but becoming our grief and embodying our grief and then surrendering it. That's how we release it. That's how we surrender it, right? Not by fearing it, not by distracting, and it's easy to distract, but eventually it'll come up, or you'll get panic attacks like me if you dishonor and you just shove emotions under the table and all of that stuff. Everything comes back. Everything will pop up. May not be tomorrow, but it will be at some point in your life. So you might as well look at it at the moment, as uncomfortable as it is,
Yeah. And it will be. I think that the baseline of this work is when you give yourself permission to no longer fear being just uncomfortable. I just finally admitted that being on Earth is uncomfortable and incredibly rewarding. Absolutely. And exciting and just beautiful and uncomfortable. That I no longer was afraid of pain, to be able to say something might be painful, because pain does not have to go into suffering when you're honoring karma in these ways. I'm no longer afraid to grieve. I'm no longer afraid to be angry. I'm no longer afraid to lovingly speak about my anger and to lovingly speak about my grief and make sure that my communication is nonviolent, and about my irritation. Irritation was something I struggled with for a long time in my life, and that's just lack of acceptance, wanting things to be and wanting people to be what we think they should be, wanting them to be exhibiting behaviors that are safe for us and our little minds and our egos. So
irritation, I was going to say irritation could also, in terms of little things, in terms of habits, in terms of noises, sometimes irritations, right? And all of that is also goes back to the same thing. It's within yourself. It's mirroring. It's not that person crunching their food a certain way or doing whatever it is. I used to have those kinds of things. It used to really just bug me and almost anger me. I almost felt so angry about it. But again, it's a control. It was my own control issues. And
I've been through that, with being irritated with the way that someone eats, like particularly my kids, they're sloppy teenagers. They're like, and finally I just got to the point where I'm like, hey, I wonder what it would be like if you would eat that with your hands. I said that to my teenager one day. Wonder what that would be like. Mom, why? And he just, all of a sudden he was no longer opposed to eating with a fork in a way that wouldn't slop stuff everywhere. All of a sudden it was like, what? My mom wants me to eat with my hands? It's kind of silly and distracting, right? But in that moment I had made peace and become still with what he was doing, and also wondering about potentials that would bridge both of our comfort levels. So one of the things that are just so one of the things that's most exciting for me about being in a body on this planet is to bridge gaps of consciousness, to bridge concepts of separation. Because ultimately consciousness cannot be separated, but our minds do that and conditions do that. So I love to wonder about ways that we can meet others, because they're ourselves, they're saying something. So I had to ask myself in that moment with my teenager, what is really irritating me about this? And I'm going to be really authentic with you right now. Sometimes at the end of the day, parents, you get off work, you clean the house, you've unloaded the backpack, you've helped with homework, you've done laundry, you've and all these little things. You got done with all the after school activities and practices and events and all the things you're going to do. Come home, get dinner on the table finally. You don't want to be there. You're ready to drop in the bed like gold. And I was irritated with myself. You know, I wanted him to just hurry up and finish dinner so I could get my butt into bed and get some actual rest. And then I realized I hadn't meditated that day. I hadn't exercised that day. I didn't eat properly that day. You know, just sharing some experiences of parenting that really my irritation made me aware of, you know, did I take my vitamins that day to have proper energy? Did I eat things that nourished me that day? Did I start out my day nourishing myself? You know, things like that, that would have perhaps precipitated and caused a different experience of connection with him in that moment. But it certainly made me aware of what I needed to do. It's not to complain about my situation. Oh, poor me, I'm a single mom, blah, blah, blah. You know, it wasn't that. It was just, oh, I haven't taken care of myself. So I'm done taking care of people for the day. So I remember the day that I got up and I was just like, I love you. I'm going to bed. You know, and he was like 12, you know, so it's like, what am I really gonna, he's 12. He knows how to take a shower and put himself in bed. He doesn't need a big old sloppy kiss on the cheek from mom. It's okay, moms, you know? And it was just that process of surrender to the fact that I was irritated without judgment, that I hadn't taken care of myself and that I needed to go do so in that moment. No excuses, no shame. Felt really good.
And also work is a great place to practice that too, to bridge that gap. Practice all day long, because where are we triggered? Usually at work, right? Wanting to be right, thinking that, you know, telling, or the other person thinks that your work is not good enough, or God knows what. I mean, there's all day long, there's opportunities to bridge that gap, to look at things in a different perspective. It takes a lot of practice, but I think work is a great place to do it. If indeed, you know, if sometimes work is at home, but if you're with a lot of people, it's a good place to practice.
All right. Well, I'll practice this now with you, my lovely colleague and teacher. What do you want to do now? We said that we would put forth, you know, at least 10 to 15 minutes of Q&A, you know, with patrons at this time. If you feel like we can do that and you're still feeling energized and that honors you.
Yeah, it does honor me. Look how we talk. Everybody. It's so nice. It's such a beautiful way to communicate.
However, what honors me though is also like a 2-minute restroom break before we do that.
Yes.
Yeah. So I'm going to do that. If you need to go, feel free to go. And if not, you can answer their questions while I'm going, but I'm going to do that.
I'll be right here. If anyone has any questions.
All right.
I can still talk. I will sip some water. Oh. Robina, I wonder what the sculpture on the shelf. Oh, you know, I'm actually at my parents' house. This is Ganesh. This is Ganesh. You know the Hindu god Ganesh. I don't know if you know, but actually, Pamela actually communicates with Ganeshji. But Ganeshji is one of the many Hindu gods, and he is known as the destroyer of obstacles, right? So if you're going through something, if it's just there's a wall, there's a blockage, you don't know what to do, how am I going to get through this? I feel like, oh my God, that's right. Om Ganganapate Namaha, that invokes his help. Even just saying that over and over and over. And you can use a mala also, 108 bead mala. Or you can just ask in natural language. You don't have to use mantras. I love Om Ganapate Namaha, but you don't have to. You can just ask. You can say, Ganeshji, I'm asking you for help because I don't know how. I feel like there's no doors open for me and I feel lost. Could you help clear a path? That's it. In natural language, whatever your language is. And it's nice to have a Ganeshji in your home. And it's usually something that someone buys for you. And, you can buy for yourself too, but it's kind of like that Indian tradition that it's given to you. And another little Indian thing is that You always slant a Ganesh. That's what I learned from my relatives in India. You slant it a little bit. So if you're facing the door, Ganesh is not going to face it. You're going to slant it. Probably has something to do with respect for Ganeshji. So it does. India is beautiful, but it's like any other place. There's people who are very awakened. There's people who are not. There's everything in between, but it's a different world. I'll tell you that much. So yeah. Were you born there? No, I wasn't. I was born in Canada, where I am now. My parents were born there. So we're from the north. We're from a place called Amritsar, and that's where the Golden Temple is. I don't know if you guys have heard of that. So, hello.
Hi.
We were talking about Ganesh.
Yeah. Ah. Well, this is interesting in the Q&A. Annie says, I feel like English is not my mother language. I don't have deep meanings attached to words, so I wonder how they manifest in my reality if I'm speaking them without this level of belief.
She's saying that English is not her mother tongue, or she just never felt a connection to English.
A little bit both for her, but primarily like she's from Portugal, and she's like, it's trying to translate their language to ours. It is almost possible. It's like really hard. Some of the words just don't even have English interpretations at all. And she just doesn't feel the same meaning to the words because of that lack of translation. She wonders how this affects things.
I don't know. I mean, I go back to the intent behind the words. So behind the words, what was the intention? What's the feeling? What's the vibration of the word? You know, I speak French, and the word love is amour in French. It kind of sounds the same, love, amour. They're both kind of floaty. They're both kind of light words, very expansive words. So how does it make you feel, the words, even if you don't understand them? Think.
Yeah, I would say that too. This is focusing on your intention, and then also connecting to languages that you really do resonate with. Yes, kind of being in that. I really resonate with Sanskrit and Gurmukhi and Gaelic. Those are the top 3 sacred languages that I resonate with most, like more than English. You know, it's very interesting that I feel those languages more, especially Gurmukhi.
Well, yeah, you had probably many lives in India as a guru, of course. That's why you have such a strong connection towards to India. But yeah, me too. Well, obviously Punjabi is, because I'm Sikh, I'm Punjabi, but it comes from Gurmukhi, so obviously Gurmukhi. Me too, Sanskrit. Yeah, more than even English.
Yeah. Let me see. There's another question here from Viramu, and he says, I'm going through the technology of anger and looking to have this transmuted to something more of a high frequency and less painful. The word anger invokes negative thoughts.
Yeah.
Why?
It doesn't have to. You can change how you feel about that. It doesn't have to. I think it's because of past associations. Every time you're angry, it just doesn't feel good. So obviously you're going to associate it with something that just doesn't feel good. But anger is powerful. Those are the moments that you can release. I love, and even screaming, I know it sounds dramatic and you don't want to do it in front of people. I find it a very powerful practice to scream, to really, really get that out. Because sometimes it's so deep and buried and you don't even know how to get it out. Cry it out, scream it out. It's very therapeutic. It's very healthy, and it just breaks apart that energy. It's kind of like the same idea of boxing, right? But really release it. Don't let it sit there. And I think change the way we look at that word anger. Anger is such an opportunity. It means something is there. It means you have something to look at. That's all it means. And And every trigger, every emotion is an opportunity. That's how.
Yeah. He said, I'm so over the crying stage immediately after that in the chat here on Crowdcast. And I get that. It means you're looking to be in your power. You're done with like the grief and the depression and the anxiety and the this and the that. So the next step on the frequency scale of consciousness would be anger. You would be going in that direction with nervousness, anxiety, then irritation and frustration, and then anger. So anger is actually a step up from grief, and especially a huge step up from apathy, which is at the bottom of the scale of consciousness currently. So what about if anger is there as a means that you feel passionate about something? Like, that's just my sense with you, that you're looking for permission to be passionate about the truth of your expression in your now. That is the information that I'm sensing about you. That's just because I know you. But for many people, anger can be different things. So what is the next most believable emotion that you can perceive that would be right there? What is it that you're really looking to grasp? Because anger is a form of seeking power, powerful feelings. So what would you feel if you were more powerful? What would that feel like? And please don't say peaceful. So many people, when I ask these questions, they were like, well, I would feel free. These are the top two things people say. I would feel free. I would feel peaceful. You are free. You are peace inherently in your spirit. So we can't like suddenly, we can become aware that we're that, but what other emotions on the scale of consciousness will lend towards that? So this is hard stuff with anger. Another person had a question about swear words. And he wanted to know if they have an inherent negative vibration and should they be avoided. I knew this was
It's a really good question. It's a really good question. I believe that we shouldn't set rules on anything because sometimes I swear it just comes out. Not often though. And I'm mindful of it because I do believe it's a lower vibration word, the F word and everything. I do believe that. And I think that there's different ways and different other words we can use instead of that. But again, after you say it, how do you feel? That's the most important thing, right? Always. How do you feel? Did you feel guilty? Uh-oh. Why do you have guilt within you? Now let's look at the guilt. Less about the swear word, more about the guilt. Or do you say it and it's fine? You feel absolutely neutral, then it's fine.
I feel really funny when I use the F word, like laughter funny. It makes me laugh. Like normally when I use the F word, it's like I dropped something on my toe, because I was in too much of a hurry and it was like, but I don't even get mad. I'm just like, fuck, and I start laughing like crazy. It makes me laugh. So I don't know, for me, it just doesn't have that implication, but there are other swear words that do. Oh, we lost you again.
I am back. Okay. Yes, because the battery is almost running up.
The battery's like, go.
Plug it in.
So but there's other words like, damn it, like that word, that phrase rather. I just can't. When I say it, I automatically feel like I've lost an opportunity or I've done something wrong.
Yeah, that's true. That's a little bit of regret going on in there.
Yeah, shit is neutral. I feel nothing about that. So it feels so funny to say, I feel nothing about shit. Neutral. So, but I do not like the word GD, it. Like I can't even say it. It's so opposed to my essence. Like basically, it feels like you just damned yourself.
Yeah, totally. 1 sec, I'm just gonna plug it.
Audra said, I love the F word. And she's like a really joyful person too, much like me. She likes to laugh. She's a really close friend of mine. And we let so many F words fly in her recent visit. We were like, and just every other sentence we were F. It was so funny. You guys just seen it. Had a like behind the scenes camera of that. You would have laughed so hard. Did Robin Williams help you with that? He did. That's when I really started like losing my opposition towards swear words. And then I'm like, am I really swearing? I have to determine and discern if I'm swearing, because the word swear means basically to oppose yourself. That's what it means to me. Probably has a different Webster definition. But to swear is basically to curse yourself and oppose yourself. If you cursed yourself, you just opposed yourself. You just sent negative something to yourself. So I don't use swear words that imply that. But the ones that are funny, like F, the word F is just funny. You know, it's
what
funny.
about FML? I think that could be really bad.
FML?
FML.
Oh, that little acronym. Yeah.
F my life.
F my life. I can't say it. It will not fly out of my mouth.
Ooh, that's a dark
You
one.
just like damned your whole life. Yeah.
Yeah, that's your whole life. Oh boy. I mean, you're imposing a lot of harm on yourself. It's really hard. It's really hard on yourself.
Or I'll never say F that person or F that and then fill in the blank. Like that doesn't cross my awareness. I just like to use the word F when I'm like, things are just really chaotic and like things are allegedly going wrong, like one thing after the other. And I just stop and I laugh and I just say, fuck. And I just start laughing. It just like happens all the time.
Or if you're asking for advice and the friend says, oh, just F that person, like forget that person. F that person.
F that person. Yeah. I tell them to F off, like that's opposed to, like, I can't do that either because it's like, tell God to F off. Tell yourself to F off. Why?
Gosh, there's no love in there. It's so violent. All these are just so much violence we're inflicting. You know? Damaging.
Yeah. Another person said, next question, is it bad when people make a mistake? I can't, I stop when someone says, is it bad when? Like I stop there.
I stopped at mistake. Mistake is
right. When people make a mistake and say, oh, I'm such an idiot. Yes. Oh, that really gets me the negative self-talk. I'm an idiot. This person's an idiot. These idiots on the road, like those kind of things, because you're basically seeing the irritation that you have in yourself in drivers behind the wheel.
That's
you know,
all a reflection.
It's all such a juicy game. I tell you what. And I just kind of laugh when my loved ones do that. Like I don't judge them for doing it. I'm just like, oh, look at them. I'm just observing that and observing if I still do that and playing around. Oh, Christina doesn't like the word cop out. When people say that's a cop out, it makes you feel like you lost. To me, that makes when someone says, oh, you're a cop out or that's a cop out. That's like ultimate shaming. Oh, you just missed out on God is what they're saying. Well, who are they to say that?
The shame program is very strong.
Someone else asked, what if the word holy is in front of the F word? Then what? I laugh harder. It's funny to me that F can be sacred because like in slang dictionaries, like the Urban Dictionary, I think F means sex, you know? I mean, I don't know. That's just my sense. I haven't looked it up, people, but you maybe should. But I think it just means sex. F just means sex with. And Americans put so much connotation and a little bit too much energy into what sex is. All that sex means is a joining of two things so that you merge and become one. So like if you say holy F, like what's so bad about that? So it's about like if you're using that in a way that you're like, we're not in a way that's like with a connotation.
And it goes back to your intent. What was your intent when you said it? Was it fun and jokey? Well, it's okay. You know, like whatever, you dropped something and you said that, it's okay. But yeah, it all goes back to your intent and how you're feeling.
Yeah. Someone else says she believes that curse words stagnate the flow of energy, of clear energy, like water going through the body and the mind. So she won't watch things on TV that are extremely violent. She like protects her mind. And this is about the pratyahara yogis. Pratya means to draw in what you need and to draw back from that which you do not. Draw in that which nourishes you, draw back from that which does not. And ahara is that food, the food or the nourishment. So yogis are being like really literal. They mean physical food. They mean food on social media. They mean your spiritual practice. They mean what food, what is food and when do you draw in or draw back? So this is kind of what this is about at the basis of this practice. So someone said, that's so funny. Holy fuck. Yeah, but yeah, TV, my goodness. Well, I'm feeling like we should wrap up. And, how are you feeling?
I'm feeling that too. And I would say my last words are kind of how I started. I really love that practice of being intentional. So if you're feeling that anger, talk to your liver. Your poor liver is the one that's trying to help you, right? So work with it, and really use the Ho'oponopono and talk to your organs as if they're another person. Really talk to them. It works.
Yeah, I love that.
Mm.
And it's just understanding that your organs are part of an entire system that you're physiologically grateful for. You know, as a lot of my gurus say to me about the body, that a lot of us have been given these, oh my gosh, fantastic tools. And we're driving around without looking at the owner's manual. Your spiritual practice is your owner's manual. This is why I do yoga. You know, all 8 limbs, you know, not American yoga. You know, this isn't just about asana or looking good in the Lululemon pants, people, and how far I can bend over backwards and how to show the world how flexible I am, because I'm not. Right? For me, it's about a balance of all 8 limbs of yoga and really honoring what limb is working for us in our practice at that moment. And just really understanding it doesn't have to be, maybe yoga isn't your owner's manual for your body and your mind, but find your owner's manual. You know, is it breath work? You know, is it self-inquiry meditation? It's one of my favorites. You know, is it bhakti yoga? You know, I love a lot of the Isha yoga, you know, from the Sadhguru Foundation. I love balance in yoga, you know, when you honor the 8 limbs, and any type of yoga that does that, you know, Raja yoga, same thing. So when you are going forth, find your owner's manual and learn how to operate your car. You know, one of my gurus says, it's like, you know, you've been given Bugattis or Lamborghinis, you know, and then you don't quite know what to do. You're either speeding and like little reckless teenagers, or you're terrified and keeping the car in the garage, you know. And it's so much of that with the Pratyahara. So just your language is your balance. So you can find this beautiful spiritual teacher here at robinadhindsa.com. So I'll have a social assistant, if you could type that in the chat, and if someone, lightworkers, if you don't mind typing that into the Crowdcast, that would be wonderful. And you know where to find me. You can find me at PamelaAaralyn.com. Robina's amazing. She's an incredible spiritual teacher on all levels. She does a lot of different types of sessions, and you can learn about her there. And you can find me for sessions and mentorship as well. So yeah, we're going to be doing a lot more of this. Not this Saturday, but I think it's next Saturday. We have some work coming up, you know, and it's going to be just a tiny little class that we're going to have, you know, on YouTube about shame in the workplace. So we'll be putting a lot more marketing material out about that. Just follow us on Instagram or YouTube or Facebook to learn about those things for when that's coming out. But I believe it's next Saturday, because I'm going to be out of town at a robotics competition for this Saturday. So next Saturday, we're going to be doing that as long as it honors Robina's schedule.
It does.
Okay. Yeah. And we'll have that live on YouTube, you know, so I think you'll really get a lot of that. Robina has a lot of powerful advice for a lot of people that are really struggling in the corporate industries. And and for powerful people who are just outright stressed out about it, just getting through the workday is hard enough in and of itself. So really basic, simple, practical, you know, techniques and technologies, you know, from a very advanced yogi and spiritual teacher. I can't wait to see her again this upcoming weekend. And you can find me also for any of these classes. If you want your questions directly answered in these classes, you can come to patreon.com/Pamela Aaralyn to get in on the behind the scenes of my life, and, you know, to get, my gosh, I think there's about 170 channels right now and over 100 classes. So you get access to all of that based upon the tier level that you choose there. So, all right, we're going to get going. Thank you, Robina. I'll see you soon this afternoon.
Yes.
Okay.
Bye, everyone.
Sat Nam.
Sat Nam.